Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I am your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create an ecosystem and environments where people thrive. Look, you guys haven't heard from me in a little while. We've been fortunate enough and just blessed to have some of the most amazing leaders, amazing guests on our show over the last few months. This is such an amazing opportunity to be sharing stories, connecting with leaders, sharing best practices, and having these honest, open, and intentional conversations with you all. And I wanted to be able to have this conversation today because the truth is, I want to talk to you about what I've been going through, what I've been thinking about, what realizations that I've had over the last year and a half that we've even had the Contagious Culture Podcast. But if you're new to the Contagious Culture Podcast, we just want to first thank you. We want you to do one thing that is completely free and it'll take you a few seconds. Could you just click the subscribe button? Can you click the like button? And can you share this with someone in your world that wants to understand how to grow their leadership as a social impact leader, how to be able to establish opportunities within their organizations that we can spread contagious culture, how to really expand and scale their impact within their communities. This is that podcast. So most times we're on here with guests and pulling back the curtains on their stories. And this episode, I wanted to just really have a real conversation because let me say something that may hit a little different today. A lot of leaders, they aren't breaking because they're not capable. Okay. They're breaking because they're carrying way too much and it becomes a lot heavier than expected. And what I've learned in my own leadership journey is that nobody really prepares you for that part on how to carry the weight. What is the weight that you need to remove? What is the weight that we need to release? And there's something that I always talk about: growth. We always talk about scaling. We always talk about this idea of massive, intangible impact, or even those tiny moments of impact. But what I've recognized, even on this show, is that we don't talk enough about what it costs, to lead something that actually matters, what it costs to be able to grow, where you recognize that you have to remove and you have to break and you have to shed. And in my own life, I'm going through that shedding process and I'm realizing one question: what are the things that I need to do to become the leader that is capable, that has the ability, that has the heart, that has the vision and the wisdom to be able to build the thing that I'm trying to build? We've talked about this in past episodes about being and then doing and then having, and you have to go through this being process. So then you start to do, and then you start at that point when you're committed to doing, and you're consistently, or committed to being, consistently doing, and then it gets you to a point where you have the success, or you have the impact, or you have the network of individuals. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm reading this new book that I've talked about potentially in previous episodes as well, called A Man's Work by Connor Beaton. It'll be in the show notes for you to check out on Amazon. And at the beginning of the book, there's just something that continues to ring in my head. He's given an example of this personal development journey. And he talks about personal development not being this process of continuing to add and develop and have this idea of tangible success, but he gives a reference to Carl Jung, which is a analysts and psychiatrists that talks about success being one word, and that's wholeness. And identifying that in order to be successful as that leader, as that individual, and in the case of this book, as a man, you need to achieve wholeness. And with wholeness, it's not about being more and adding more and becoming more. It's about this unbecoming process that you have to go through, and this decomposing and this deconstructing and this dying oftentimes of these habits, these beliefs, these traumas, these realizations, these anchors that we are tethered to that hinder our ability to be able to move the needle forward within ourselves in that being process, so that we can't really do effectively. And then it never allows us the opportunity to be able to have as well. So what we're going to talk about today is all of the things that I've had to unbecome. And I realized over the last few months, I've been in rooms with school leaders, I've been in rooms with executives, with founders, with executive directors, and I keep hearing the same thing really in different ways. I'm tired, I'm carrying too much, and I don't know if this is right for me anymore. And I will say this just to be fully transparent, I felt that same way. And I realized that to get to the point where you're exuding joy and you're living that life of abundance, it's not about adding more people. It's about removing more. It's about simplifying. And some of the things that I've even simplified on my end is identifying that, look, the 2026 Contagious Culture Conference that we were investing all of this money into and all of this time into, I had to ask myself one question. Are you doing this for the community that you're wanting to serve? Or are you doing this to be remembered as the guy that convened over 500 people in person in 2000 online? And will this allow you to really build your brand? Are you doing it for the right reasons? What is your why? Like, really, what is the why behind this decision, Kyle? And I realized deep down that there's a humility and there's a dying of the ego that had to happen in order for me to really build something sustainable, impactful, and something that the community really needs. And that required me to move the conference back to 2027. Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired? Or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program. And in that, I had to recognize, well, with all of this time that we now have available, with all of these resources that now we have available, where can we focus that time and focus that energy and focus those resources so that we can go deep in the work that we're actually doing? So when I thought about it, I was like, we have these podcasts, we have my own individual speaking journey and speaking career. We have these recommendation reports and audits for organizations that we do across the world. We have the Growth Alliance community, which we meet every week at 3 o'clock to 4:30, and we're building. We have unlimited one-on-ones with those organizations. And then we were launching a Friday morning, every other Friday, a Friday morning fundraising. You can go to fridaymorningfundraising.com to find out more information. And we had all of these different things, as well as the conference that we were doing. And the truth of the matter is that so many times as leaders, we're trying to add more and do more to be able to accelerate our impact or to be able to go wide. But when the budget is tight, when the team is stretched, when the results aren't where you want them to be, that's when people start asking. That's what I started asking is, who's the leader? And what do I need to be able to do as the leader for me to really be able to grow this thing forward? And here's the truth that I had to recognize. Under pressure, leaders default. They don't rise. They revert. So if your culture is if it's slipping, it's not random. It's reflection. So that's what I had to do, people. I had to really identify and reflect on what I needed to do different. I had to reflect on current partnerships that I had in place. I had to reflect on where my time was going on a daily basis. I had to reflect on, why am I not time blocking? What softwares can we have out there that would allow us to see the various action items and priorities so that they can be in front of us and really see all of the different things that are laying dormant in my mind that we need to be able to execute on. I need to start saying no to various outside revenue projects that, yes, bring in money to the business, but aren't pushing the mission and pushing the needle forward within the organization. So what did I do? I pushed the conference back to 2027, and it was hard. It was so hard because once you launch something, once you start telling people something, once you commit, you feel this invisible responsibility and this obligation and this weight to continue to keep it going from your own branding perspective, or this idea of not wanting to disappoint people. But look, I find that people respect you more if you're just telling the truth. So I reached out to the speakers, I reached out to sponsors, I reached out to various people that were on the table that we were having conversations with, and said the various same things that I'm communicating to you, and people understood because they're carrying the same weight. They're carrying the same weight. They're identifying how to put things down so that they can go deeper in the work, so that they could build people up. So we pushed back the conference. The Growth Lab community that was meeting at 12 o'clock, and then we had a Growth Alliance at 3 o'clock. We combined those communities together, reduced the price point of Growth Alliance, increased the price point of Growth Lab so that it could be a middle point, so that we can create accessibility for more organizations. So we brought the price point right in that middle point so that we can be able to create accessibility. Now, we lost some members that needed to go up. We gained some members that came down. And then we started really building in a model where we were bringing in guest speakers. We were creating community. But the challenge with this now is capacity. If we have multiple members from all over the world in this Growth Alliance community and we're offering one-on-one, the challenge is capacity. Because I can't be the same person that's doing the calls, the sales calls, the trainings, and the one-on-one meetings. I can't, because I'm only one person. And this is the message here. I say I'm only one person, but I can do it if I didn't have a family. I can do it if I didn't prioritize my health. I can do it if I didn't have all of these other things that I really cared about. And a lot of times we sacrifice the things that are most important to us to be able to show up for other people. And I didn't want to be that leader anymore. And it took an unbecoming, and it took the becoming and learning that I wanted to be the leader that prioritized my home life first. I wanted to be the leader that prioritized me going to the gym. I wanted to be the leader that prioritized me reading books and podcasts and connecting with amazing people around the world. I wanted to be the leader that was able to use their voice to be able to inspire and uplift people. And if I was bombarded with calls and one-on-ones and trainings, and that took up all of my time, then I would not be able to do the things that truly made me happy. And then what happens? We're not able to be as creative. We're not able to be as productive. We're now focusing so much on money, because we're living in a poverty mindset that we're not able to produce and sow and pour in the best way possible. So what did I do? I identified two things. Number one, that I didn't need another me, thanks to my mentor really exposing me to that. It was, I needed to identify the skill sets and the gaps necessary that would be able to help me increase my capacity. And it was really only two things: calls and sales, delivery or closing. And that's really it. So if I needed somebody on the delivery side, then I need somebody to be able to handle the one-on-one meetings, and I need somebody to do the actual weekly trainings, or at least connect with the speakers in my community to be able to bring people on to deliver value for the community. Now, if I'm not doing that anymore, then that also allows me on the other side to be able to take more calls, to be able to sell people. But I didn't just want to be the person that's selling. I love teaching. And what I had to realize is I had to look at my current landscape of my team and started to identify where are the missing gaps. If me and another team member have the same exact skills. We want to do the same exact things, and we're focused on proximity because it makes us feel comfortable. Then we have to understand one thing. Who do we need? And what do we need? What in regards to the skill sets necessary for us to be able to grow this thing forward? And then who is the person that's going to be able to fill those skill gaps? Who is the expert? And that person may not speak like me. That person may not dress like me. That person may not have the network like me. But how can I leverage my network for that person that has the skill set in converting these prospects into people within our organization? So we had to streamline our two communities into one. Then I had to recognize one thing, like, all right, after I was having a conversation with a great friend of mine, Dr. Pael Berry, and she's just everything experienced. She asked me one question a few weeks ago, and she was like, how does everything that you do essentially align? Now, what I call this in business all the time, and it's interesting because you can teach on these things, but when it comes to you, it's not like you look in the mirror and the way that you see the organizations that you support. I had to identify, well, how do our podcast episodes align with getting people to our Friday morning fundraising series and then align to getting people directly into the Growth Alliance, or is everything separate? And I identified that everything was separate. Like, I love podcasting. I love talking to you all on a daily basis, on a weekly basis when we get the chance to connect. But look, I recognize that I'm bringing on potential guests that are leaders in this space, but we had to be more intentional. We had to be more intentional with where we're leading our people. So for somebody listening in, I want you to be really more intentional. I was asked the question the other day about how do leaders create momentum without burning out. And one of the things that I mentioned is we have to play defense. When we look at any sports team, one of the things that I always learned as a former basketball athlete in high school is if you're down by 15, 20 points, the goal is to be able to cut the lead to 10. Because once we cut the lead to 10, we start identifying a way for us to put ourselves in position to be able to win the basketball game. And that's in anything, football, anything. You want to be able to cut the lead. In order to cut the lead, there's two things that need to happen. You have to force turnovers, and you have to be able to get points on the board.
Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
What this looks like in running an organization is forcing turnovers means we have to play defense in a way that allows us to stop the leaks in our system. Three things that I want you to identify: your processes, your personnel, and your systems. What are some processes that we need to improve upon? What are some systems that we need to be able to improve upon or get rid of because it's leaking financially within our business? It's too expensive. And then personnel. Who are some culture killers? Who are some people that are underperforming, that are lacking productivity or lacking vision or lacking alignment within the organization that we potentially need to get rid of? Or who are some consultants, some culture carriers, some people that we can connect with that can allow us to advance our organization forward? When I think about the things that I'm doing, my one goal is, who is the person that can be able to drive the organization forward? Who is the person that I can trust that if I wanted to go on vacation, if I wanted to take the day off, that person can step up in the way to be able to speak, move, and deliver in the same ways or in better ways that I would be able to deliver. And that's what we need to be able to think about. So we have to play defense. Oftentimes, going back to what I was mentioning earlier, we're going through this becoming process. We're growing, we're scaling, we're building our organizations, but we're not understanding that, look, it's not about adding more team. It's not about adding more system. It's not about adding more process or adding more things. It's about being able to build momentum by playing defense and identifying what are the issues. For us, the issues were we were doing too much. For us, the issues were everything wasn't in alignment. It wasn't a strong throughway. For us, I needed to be more intentional with where my time was going. For us, I needed to be able to allow other team members to step up and be able to be productive and actually have measurable production so that I could be able to measure progress and be able to develop these individuals in a way so that it best served the organization. And let me tell you something, it's tough. It's tough to be able to do that. It's tough to be able to do that because I've always been the leader that was graceful. I've always been the leader that wanted to be kind and wanted to be loving and wanting to be liked and all of these different things. But I recognize there's tough conversations that require us to be able to say, like, look, this is not working. And as leaders listening in, I want you to really recognize what is not working. What is not working within these partnerships? What is not working within how you engage with your team? What is not working within your own life? Because you can't scale culture if you're losing yourself. And that's what I found happening. You can't scale culture if you're not communicating honestly and transparent. You can't scale culture if we're not having real conversations and being vulnerable on the things that not are happening, but the things that are not happening. We can't scale culture if we don't have real measurables that we're actually measuring week by week, and then creating guardrails so that we don't get distracted by opportunities, but we can stay focused on the priorities and the deliverables. We can't scale culture if we have the wrong team members in place. We can't scale culture if we don't have the right team members in place. We can't scale culture if we're not willing to invest in the people within the organization that it can actually drive it forward. We can't scale culture if we're in competition between team members rather than intentionally collaborating together to be able to grow the organization. We can't scale culture if we're doing too much. And what I recognize is that this unbecoming personally that had to happen, this reprioritization of my own life personally has led to me feeling more joyful, being more integral, understanding the importance of reputation, being more honest, being more clear, direct, graceful, and kind, while still understanding that we have a job to do. And with this job to do, with this impact that we're trying to drive, with this opportunity, with the opportunities that we're trying to create within other organizations or with other communities or with other people, there are certain things that need to take place. And in this case, the certain things that need to take place is that the conference, that big event that we always want to do as nonprofit leaders, social impact leaders, it needed to be moved back. We needed to establish ourselves in the local community prior to being able to grow forward. I had all of the right connections. I know all of the players, all of the different people, but all of those people, even if they bought tickets, is not enough for us to be able to drive the change that we want to be able to drive. So look, the purpose of this conversation is simple. I want you to understand and take away one thing. What are the things that you need to remove as a leader? What are the things that you need to assess as a leader? And what are the questions that you need to ask as a leader so that you can understand your gaps, your holes, and your areas of opportunity so that you can be able to move your organization forward? Look, for me, I had to look in first. And then once I started to look in, I had to remove some things, reprioritize my life so that my company could fit within my life and that my company was not my life. I don't want to fit people into my company's schedule. No, I think that's unfair to my amazing family. I think that's unfair to the people that I love. I think that's unfair to me, even to focus so much on work that I can't get to the gym, to focus so much on work that I can't be present with my children, to focus so much on work that I can't be present with the people that I love the most. And that's the risk and the challenge that a lot of us make when we're growing and when we're building organizations, is that we risk all of these things to get a check, to grow an organization, to be seen. But that's not the culture that we want to be able to create as an organization. So look, this isn't a leadership issue and it's not a wellness issue. It's a culture issue. And we can't scale culture if you're losing yourself. You can't scale culture if you're not taking the time to understand yourself. And there's a process of an emotional awareness that needs to take place before we are equipped, before we're able to coach and develop and empower other people to be able to drive the organization's mission forward. So what is your mission as a person? What is your mission as an organization? And what are the things that you need to do this week so that you can cut certain things and then be able to move the needle forward and other things? Look, it's another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and it's always a pleasure to be able to teach, speak, and empower every single person listening in. Look, and if you like this episode, I need you to do me one favor. I need you to hit that like button. I need you to subscribe to the channel. And I need you to be able to share this episode with somebody that you love. And if there was something especially interesting in this episode that you appreciated, write a review and then be able to screenshot that review and send it to somebody in your world. Look, one of the questions that we always ask on the Contagious Culture Podcast is, what type of culture are you spreading? The energy you bring is the culture you create. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you all next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture Podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.